Retro.
Hey guys, you're watching Play Retro. Thanks for stopping by. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Javi, and today we're going to be comparing and contrasting two very similar devices. We have the Anbernic RG35XX Plus and Anbernic RG35XX both devices with horrible names. So for the rest of this video, we'll be referring to this device as the Plus and this as the H. So yeah, these devices came out not too long ago, a couple months back. Anbernic tried to pull a fast one on us. They released this device 1 month right before the H, when they really should have just dropped both at the same time, but they figured they'd probably make more money if they dropped this one first and then they dropped the H. I really don't like when companies do stuff like this. You know, we had Retro do the same thing, but I digress. So for anybody who hasn't already made a purchase, this video is for you. This video will hopefully help you decide which device is right for you, because they are different. I know a lot of people say, oh, this is just a horizontal H. That's not exactly true. So we're going to get into what makes them similar and what makes them different in this video. We'll start with the similarities. So first of all, they share the exact same screen. Absolutely no difference between the screens. They have the exact same processor, the H700. The new processor Anbernic's been using. As well as that, they share the same GPU, dual core G31 MP2. They have the same amount of RAM, LDDR4 1GB. They have two storage slots, as you can see here. On the H we have one here, and then on the Plus we have over here. Both have two storage slots. Both use the same operating systems and have the same custom firmware available for both of them. They both have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and HDMI out. They both have the same battery size. So this is 3300 for both of them. Okay, now let's get into what makes them different. So let's start with the obvious, right? You have the form factor, right? So this is a portrait device and this is a horizontal device. So vertical versus horizontal. That's kind of the biggest thing. And just by virtue of being horizontal, this will be a little bit more comfortable for most people. So that if you're looking for comfort, definitely take this one into consideration. But then there's also the argument to be made for the Plus. The Plus is really well made. I'd argue that this is a better pocket-friendly device, especially without the joysticks. And we're gonna move into controls in a second. But first, I wanted to discuss color options. So the color options on both of these is very different. So for the Plus, I will overlay on screen. We have this beautiful clear. We also have a clear purple, atomic purple, and we also have a black available for this device. So they went with almost the same exact colors as they had on the original 35XX. And then with the Plus, they went the completely different direction. So for the Plus, we have this beautiful solid white. We also have DMG gray, and we also have, I believe, a transparent black as well. From seeing both in person, I think the Plus has better color options. That's just my personal preference, but that is something that is different between them. And obviously we have to discuss price. So retail, this goes for $64 and this goes for $68. And both of these devices are on sale right now for AliExpress's anniversary sale, as well as Anbernic. This is basically both these devices are on sale everywhere right now. So, and a lot of times you will find the H for a little bit less than the Plus, and vice versa. They go back and forth. So the price shouldn't be anything you really take into consideration like that. So now let's get into the controls. So obviously the biggest difference here is the joysticks, right? The Plus has no joysticks. H does have joysticks. So that may be a deal breaker for a lot of people. I know these systems can play some of the higher end stuff like Nintendo 64 or PSP or DS. You can use one of the buttons to enable stylus. I mean, you can do it on this one too, but it's going to be easier to control with a joystick. And even Dreamcast, you want to use a joystick. So it does make sense to have a joystick on this device just because of the power it does have. On this, you do have a workaround where Anbernic has programmed it to a certain button. If you're not on custom firmware, if you're on stock OS, where you can press the power button once and that will map the D-pad to analog. But that is not a one-to-one fix, because this can never do a partial input. This will always do like 0 or 1, not 0 or 0.5 or 0.4. You know what I mean? Like analog. So it's a soft fix, but it is something that needs to be said. As well as that, the D-pads are different. So I'm gonna get a close-up of these D-pads. First, let's start with the H. It's kind of tall and very, I would say, sharp. It is still a soft membrane. They have very good membrane. This D-pad is inferior to the Plus's D-pad. The Plus's D-pad is king. It's round, it's soft, it's not very high. It's just such a perfect D-pad. Such a perfect D-pad. And I enjoy this D-pad a lot more than I enjoy this D-pad. This is more reminiscent of like the original 35XX D-pad. If that's a D-pad you like, you will like the H's D-pad. To me, the Plus's D-pad kills the H's D-pad. Aside from that, I do want to discuss one important thing, is the position of the menu button on the Plus. This, to me, in my opinion, is a better designed device. Just because look at the position of the menu button, right? You do everything with the menu button. You do all your hotkeys. You go into RetroArch and stuff like that. Everything's easy to get to. You can open the menu, you can fast forward, you can screenshot, you can do whatever you want, and it's right there where you need it at all times, right? You know, you can adjust brightness, stuff like that, right? Where on the H, you have this button up here, and it's kind of awkward. Like normally you map fast forward to like your shoulder button, right? And this is kind of super awkward. Unless you'd have to just adjust for this device specifically, maybe map fast forward to something else so it's a little bit easier to use. But I don't like the function button being up here, as you can see right there. It just doesn't really like make sense. I wish Anbernic would just put it like right here somewhere. I think they had space on the device to put it on the face of the device, but they just decided to put it right here. I don't know, it's just a little quirk about this device. I kind of wish they did something different. What I would suggest, anybody who's interested in the H and doesn't want to deal with the menu button being in a weird spot, just map the buttons to make sense. Like, don't use these buttons for hotkeys. Like, use everything else. Like maybe put fast forward to like some of this, or like over here or something. I don't know. Another difference between the two is in their sound. So as you can see, the H has stereo sound. We have a speaker on the left, we have a speaker on the right. Down firing, by the way. The Plus has just one mono speaker, front firing. The H's sound is going to be superior just because you can get stereo sound out of it versus just one mono front firing speaker. This does have a benefit because it is front firing, but it is just one speaker versus two speakers, and the sound quality on this is not too bad either. Another difference, if you move on over into the back, what's more important to you? Do you care more for having a accessible battery compartment? So as you can see here, there's a little screw. You can go ahead and open this up and you can access your battery. If anything ever goes wrong with your battery, you can easily swap it out, maybe put in a bigger capacity or something. Where on the H, it's not that simple. So if we look on the H, you're not going to get the accessible battery compartment. It's actually going to be a little bit more annoying to open the device up. Not only do you have to take the screws out, but there's also clips, as you can see right here, little plastic clips that can break as you're trying to open up the device to get to the battery. If you ever have to do something with the battery, it's going to be annoying on the H. But what you do gain on the H is these little rubber pads. So like, you know, this is a signature little rubber pad. It feels nice on your hands when you're holding it. And it also is like anti-slip, so the device can't really slide that well, which is nice. That's a trade-off you have to make. Like, do you want the accessible battery compartment or do you want the rubber grips? It's a minor thing, but I personally prefer the accessible battery compartment. I think it's more useful, but to each their own, right? And finally, I want to discuss these shoulder buttons. So on the Plus, they're fairly quiet and they have a nice little angle. They feel good in your hands. I just love the design of this device. I made so many videos on this device. I think it's so close to perfect. But now moving on to the H, we have a little bit more clicky style kind of shoulder buttons. It's not very loud, but it does make a sound versus something like this is feel a little bit more quiet. So this one shakes a little bit more than this one. I hate the shake test, to be honest, guys. I think it's such a stupid test. It's like, who shakes their devices? I think shoulder buttons are a little bit more comfortable on the Plus than they are on the H. Just because the way you have to hold it, it's kind of like very close. Versus like here, you have a little bit more space for your finger to wrap around. I think it's a little bit more comfortable on the Plus, at least the shoulder buttons, ergonomically. Oh yeah, and the last thing I want to just discuss is the fact that the H has an additional OTG port right over here, and on the Plus we just have this one right here, and it just says DC, where this one has OTG 1 and OTG 2. So you have a little bit more IO with this one. So if I was somebody that didn't have these, like, let me tell you my preference right off rip right now. I like my Plus more for a couple reasons. First of all, the D-pad is awesome. I love the way the shoulder buttons feel, and then I have a big preference to the menu button being in the center. And then there's also the little things like the coolness factor of playing 3D games on a Game Boy style device. That to me is awesome. Even if it lacks a joystick, it is still cool to be able to do that. Like just play like a PlayStation 1 game, a 3D PlayStation 1 game with a D-pad. It's just, I don't know, it's just cool to me, and I enjoy that. So yeah guys, I think the H is going to be the better option for most people. You know, it's horizontal, so it's going to be more comfortable. You do gain the joysticks, so the systems this thing can play are going to benefit from those joysticks, especially the left one. You do have the additional functionality of just having the right joystick as well. You can have more hotkeys. You can also use it for like stylus control, for like DS emulation and that sort of thing. Aside from that, you also gain stereo sound versus mono sound on the Plus. It just makes a lot of sense. And then you also have the additional OTG if you ever want to connect a controller or something, and you have these rubber pads. But yeah guys, hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, definitely make sure to subscribe. It does help the channel grow, and you know, helps this video get out to more people. Anyway, I will leave links to both of these devices in the description below, to all the sales and stuff that's going on right now, along with a link to both my custom firmware guides. If you want to get Botacera Lite on any of these, or MuleOS, which is a little bit newer, I have made guides for both of those, which you guys can follow. And yeah, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. My name is Javi, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.